My whole life since I can remember remembering things, I've been playing Nintendo games, and I've been lucky enough to have been able to play on pretty much every system Nintendo has offered over the years. From NES to Switch, Game Boy to 3DS, whether it be at a friend's house or at my own house, I've tried them all. Except one elusive, weird system. A system that was released before I was born, and less than a year later, apparently the day before I came into this world, it was discontinued. The Virtual Boy died, so the real boy, that's me, could live. And now almost 30 years later, I finally decided to get myself one. Despite this thing never being available to me, I've always found it pretty interesting. Like a lost artifact of the past that was far ahead of its time that no one talks about these days. Obviously, people do know about it, but we that do are the weirdos. But no one really talks about it that much, Nintendo included. Really, I feel like the Virtual Boy has fallen to a level where it's just referenced every now and then in a Nintendo game so they can give the little wink wink nudge nudge to the true Nintendo freaks that they still remember this thing. There was actually a video posted like 10 days before this video that shows all the in-game references to the Virtual Boy, and I recommend checking that out if you're interested. It's pretty cool. I can understand why this thing did not do well when it released. It came out several years after the SNES, which has games that still look beautiful to this day, and the Virtual Boy could only do black and red two-tone games that probably burned holes in your retinas if you stared at it for too long. Not to mention, the PS1 was already out in Japan when this thing released, and only a month after the North American release of the Virtual Boy. Just better offerings available, and the gimmick probably wasn't worth the price for the Virtual Boy. Add on the fact that the Nintendo 64 was around the corner, it's no wonder this thing died so fast. Also, this controller is one of the most horrid things I've ever laid eyes on. Not only is it super beefy since it has 6 AA batteries inside it to power the console, but also the fact that there is a set of D-pads on either side of the controller just doesn't quite sit right with me. I will say though, the console itself is pretty stable with this big base that looks like a couple of coat hangers. For someone with a desk setup like me, this is actually a fairly comfortable system to play on. I never realized it had this soft insert here where you put your face, which is a welcome discovery because I just assumed this would be hard plastic. Maybe one day I'll try to incorporate it as a permanent fixture on the desk, but for now it'll mainly live behind the glass case, safe from the cats, who will no doubt try to look to torment me and knock it off my desk. The only game I have to play on this thing at the moment is Mario's Tennis, which was the pack-in game for North America. I haven't spent a whole lot of time with it yet, but what time I have spent with it, it's been a pretty cool experience. Probably just because it feels unique and like it's a new Nintendo game to me I've never played, but also it just feels like a pretty solid little tennis game. And I thought it was pretty funny to see that this seems to be yet another game from the 90s where Nintendo opted for DK Jr. over Donkey Kong as a playable character for some reason. There were not a whole lot of games for the Virtual Boy, only 14 total, including Mario's Tennis, released in North America. So why don't I go ahead and just list those now? 3D Tetris, Galactic Pinball, Golf, Jack Bros, Mario Clash, Mario's Tennis, Nestor's Funky Bowling, Panic Bomber, Red Alarm, Tellero Boxer, Vertical Force, Virtual Boy Wario Land, Virtual League Baseball, and Water World. I mentioned all of those because I've decided that I want to try and collect all 14 games. I've never had any desire to be a set collector or anything, but I think this thing is pretty neat, and 14 games is manageable, even if one of the games costs a mortgage payment that I'll have to save up for. If you are interested in playing any of these 14 games without buying a Virtual Boy, I know somewhat recently some of those 3DS hacking wizards made all these games playable with 3D capabilities on the 3DS. I have not tried this out, mainly because despite all the memes on how easy it is to hack your 3DS, I have had no desire to do it and I'm probably too dumb to figure it out anyhow. But there are some neat features like changing the color from red to literally any other color that makes it look better on the eyes. Over on the YouTube channel GVG, they have a good video showcasing this. It still surprises me to this day that Nintendo did not release any first-party titles, at the very least, on the 3DS eShop, but I guess it just shows that they have some level of shame with this thing and they didn't want to bring them up. So ideally this video becomes the start to a series in the channel. I want to make a video dedicated to each new Virtual Boy game I get my hands on. Give a little review on it, talk about the history a bit, all that jazz. I've actually already got a head start on this idea and have 2 games coming in the mail I'm excited to try out. This set has several affordable games I should be able to get my hands on relatively quickly, while I save up for the more expensive ones. I don't imagine I'll finish this set for a couple years unless something drastic happens, or if I get real lucky. And I think that's where I'll call this video. Thanks for watching. I'm excited to explore this library of games more and talk about it here on this channel, and if that excites you too, consider subscribing down below to keep up. While you wait for the next one of these videos, I post plenty of other video game content on the channel, including some reviews and gameplay impressions on new games, indie games, and some revisits of some retro titles. I try to keep up a good variety. Anyhow, thanks again for watching, and see you next time.